Hi, my name's Lindy. Welcome to the channel. The website is www.lindycowling.co.uk. Email is info@lindycowling.co.uk, and the way to contact me for sessions, media or other is via that email address, please. Title of this video today is Why you are obsessed with your twin flame or connection. Why you are obsessed with your twin flame or connection. Now, this would relate to whatever the category of connection, of person or people you have met are in. So that means it's not specific to people that feel they're twin flames or are actual twin flames. This is across the board in all categories. So whether you have met a catalyst, whether you've met a soul connection, whether you've met soul family, whether it's a soulmate, whether it's an old school soulmate, whether it's an ascensionary soulmate, whether it's a spiritual catalyst, whether it's a light catalyst, whether it's a dark catalyst, whether it's a polarized connection, whether it's a non-polarized connection, whether it's a twin flame union, whether it's any other kind of connection, bar full conscious connections, bar fully conscious, because the reason barring that is conscious connections and those that are fully conscious, which are few and far between. There are plenty on the way to it, but those that are already conscious or in that category don't have those obsessive traits about them. And if you ask why, it's because there is nothing within their system or energy field or personality or on any soul magnetic energetic state that is pulling them back anywhere near towards anything that needs a resolution in them or around them. In other words, there is nothing there to trigger, nothing there in that sense to expand through. It's already been done, so they're already at a point of neutrality and a point where they're creating their reality consciously as they're going along. So that's why that category doesn't apply here. So for the majority of the population, they are at all different stages of awakening, ascending and their evolution, and for a chunk of that population they are doing it through interactions with other people that are triggering them or encouraging an awakening or an expansion. The question being, and the question I get asked, and the thing that I address every single week that I work in this arena, is why can't I get him out of my head or her out of my head? Why am I constantly thinking about them? Why am I obsessed with them? Why am I tracking them on social media? Why am I trying to find out what they're doing? People say, why am I engaging in almost stalker-like behaviour? Or on the flip side, why are they engaging in stalker-like behaviour? Why are they obsessing about me? Why do they keep checking up on me? Why are they asking about me? Why are they sending me things? Why are they constantly obsessing about me? So let's, usually I start from the let's say higher perspective first and work my way round, but my instincts this way are to do it from the bottom up, so to speak. So we'll go from the very linear human perspective of it first. When you have met someone, or when they have met someone who may have been you, that is very, very different to someone that you've met before in every sense of the word. They have affected you, or you have affected them, by encouraging you to not only view yourself differently, but your whole perception and perspective of the world differently. And not just your perception and perspective, which is part of it, but your actual engaging in your reality and your world, and the level of awareness at which you do it. And what I mean is the level of awareness being how much in your world you are fully here and engaged in it and now and authentically you, and how much of it you are subconsciously or unconsciously walking through the motions and within your reality, mostly dictated by circumstances in or around you, or unconsciously or programmed circumstances, orchestrated circumstances, very strong belief systems. When you have met someone that changes or begins the beginnings of changes to that encourages you, not by really, it doesn't have to be by their words as such or even by their actions as such, it can simply be by their frequency. So it's not always matched up by the actual actions that go with that frequency or even the personality that goes with it. I mean, crikey, just look at the examples of that on this channel over the last 4 years, the things I've been speaking about where people have had vast awakening and ascension awakenings and spiritual awakenings and all of the above, Kundalini awakenings, with a complete and utter arsehole of a person in personality. So all of those things don't necessarily have to match up to cause an awakening. But why people get caught up, this would be male and female, in when this has happened, that they get very obsessively, or a big bulk of the population get very obsessively about the person that triggered that in them, is because it is a vast process and a big deal when someone kicks off an awakening in you. And it's important to say that you can have awakenings kick off that have absolutely nothing to do with anyone else. It can happen spontaneously with nobody around, or it can happen because of a life event, a global event. All different things can kick it off, but most commonly, just the nature of being human beings, it is as a result of interacting with other people. When that's happened, it's kind of a big deal for people, and of course it is, because it changes their whole perception and reality and starts to up their consciousness. And that awakening sometimes kicks off all kinds of gizmos in your energy field. You start running your energy differently. Not only is your awareness different, it resonates out into the energy bodies, it resonates out into throwing up different challenges within the mental body, within the pain body, the emotions, all of these kind of things going off. Notwithstanding also, you know, sometimes, not always, but sometimes Kundalini energy is kicked off as well. Not always, but sometimes, which kicks off another load of stuff, all overlapping with what I've said. So it's very natural and understandable that one should track back in the early stages to how this got kicked off or who it got kicked off with. But what I'm going to say is you're not meant to get stuck at that point where you can't move beyond it. And why people get obsessed is because, to put it easily and in a straightforward way, it's a habitual human response, a knee-jerk response, almost like an instinct for us to look constantly outside us for the reasons of things and for the answers to things. And we usually do that through our perception of people that we are interacting with and that we have in our lives or had in our lives. And we look outside of us for the answer to that, and sometimes to solve those issues or problems, where the whole gift of this and the whole purpose of it is to encourage you, or to encourage us, to look inside at what is going on for us, our perception, our emotional state, our mental state, our physical state, our realities, our belief systems, our programmings. The whole purpose is to encourage us to go inwards. Now, some of you will say to me, a big chunk of the reason why I feel obsessed about him, or a big chunk of the reason why I feel obsessed about her, or a big chunk of the reason why I feel obsessed about them, because they may have met more than one connection in their life, you would say, I feel obsessed about them because at the end of the day, I love them and I'm in love with them. I'm going to say here that you being in love with them is 1/10 of that cake, but 9/10 of what you're experiencing is nothing to do with that you love them. 9/10 of it is everything that I'm listing here that you have been encouraged to go look at within yourselves. And the love part of it is not really the part of it that's keeping you in suffering and misery. The suffering and misery part of it is all the things that are built around that, like I want to be with them but they're with someone else, or I want to be with them but they don't want to be with me. I want to be with them but they're not recognizing who I am. And you see where I'm going with this. These are all things that aren't really about the actual loving them, but they're about how that makes you feel the absence of them, or the abandonment that you perceive they have done of you, and the abandonment that's been triggered in you from perhaps your childhood or perhaps your core soul wound. And there are videos on my channel which explain about inner child healing. There are videos on my channel that explain about the core soul wound and how to look back at that, or to realize that. These are all things that ultimately track back to you. Now, yes, it is true that we as human beings react very strongly to what people do or don't do, and very strongly to situations around us and living circumstances around us. I mean, that's part of being human, and that's, let's say normal. But the gift of these connections and why you are constantly obsessing back about them, like I say, about 1/10 of it is the love you feel for them. And 9/10 of that cake is all about that you're supposed to be taking the spotlight off them, the magnifying glass off them, and focusing it entirely onto you. Looking at why you are feeling the way you're feeling, looking at where your emotions are, looking at where your life is, looking at your perception of the world, looking at your belief systems, looking at all these big things. This is the gift of it. And the reason that you are obsessing is not so much about the love that you feel for the person, but all this other stuff. Now, I'm not saying all the other stuff isn't justified. That's the gift of it. The gift of the whole thing is so that you recognize this and bring the 9/10 of the cake that is unconscious up to your conscious awareness. Because when you bring it up to your conscious awareness, all of the rest of that cake becomes fully conscious, and you raise your frequency and vibration. You are no longer ruling your life by the perceptions and the belief systems and programming, but you are making your decisions from a conscious, sovereign being walking their mastery. And the whole point of this is, if you come in via this trajectory, that you have the opportunity to go through a process of inner and outer transformation and alchemize all of this baggage, packaging. I could call it old energy. I don't use the word karma very often, but karmic stuff. Alchemize it all and do an inner transformation, and that is the gift of it. The reason that the obsession keeps you hooked back in is because you haven't got the message. You're going to keep tracking back to the original person that kicked that off in you, or the original messenger, I could call them. You're going to keep tracking back until you get it. Now, what I'm saying here applies to all categories. That is the lot. Every category, apart from those that are already living consciously, which is a small amount of people, but that's the only ones this doesn't apply to, as I said, because they are already making conscious decisions without any of this triggering or baggage going on. Every single other person on the planet, and in all the other categories, which is the majority of human beings at this point in time, this applies to. So that is what it's all about, and that is why you are obsessing, the being in love with them, which most of you bypass this and feel that it's because you're so in love with them, and that is 9/10 of the cake that you feel like you feel, when actually it's the other way round. The in love with them is 1/10 of the cake. The other rest of the parts of the cake, split into tenths, are all about this other stuff. And the opportunity is, if you want to meet your original connection, no matter what they are, on an even playing field, a neutral point of energy, and from the authentic heart, fully conscious, you have to do the rest of this bit. So do they. Otherwise, what will happen is you will keep thinking of them, you will keep getting the opportunity to do this, but if you dig your head in the sand and don't do it, other life situations, perhaps not very comfortable, will be around you matching that uncomfortable digging your head in the sand bit that you're in. You might even get other people come in that match that. Keep constantly giving you the opportunity to recognize this and do this inner work within yourself. And so it will go on. If you want to be wide awake and aware and be in this infinite moment, in this reality, creating this reality as you go, with matching consciousness around you in the form of another person or other people, or even in the form of the one that kicked this off, no matter what category they're in, that includes twin flames, then you have to do this bit, because you can't bypass it. You cannot become the embodiment in the body meant embodiment without remembering you're doing it through your human vehicle. No matter where you come from off planet, or no matter what your background is, or no matter what dimension you are aligned with, or what star being race you are aligned with, if you want to do this bit in your human vehicle and don't want to leave planet to do it, or get off Earth to do it, then this is the key to it. This is what it's all about. And you will keep obsessing until you've got the message from your original messenger that this is the gift of it. When you're obsessing, instead of keep looking at them, ask yourself, what is underneath this? Why am I obsessing about them? What is it about me? What is it in me? Am I expecting them to fix something in me? Am I trying to avoid other thoughts and feelings and emotions that I'm not looking at, that I feel they help me to avoid, or it feels something else within me? Start looking at it the other way around and questioning yourselves as to what that is. What is it? Is it filling some something else that's missing in your life, have a look at what the obsession, what is under it for you, or your emotions in connection with it. Is it really high anxiety? Is it really high fear that they'll never come back? Is it really high anxiety and fear that you'll never experience anything like that again, for example? This is the homework in a way that you are called upon to do, all of the kind of stuff that I'm listing here. And that is why you are constantly obsessing about him or her that gave you the opportunity to do this in the first place. And on that note, I'm going to love you and leave you. As always, thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for watching me and supporting me as that channel in all the ways that you do. Look after yourselves, take care, and I'm sure I will see you again soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.